Kam Chancellor was nicknamed Bam Bam Kam, and for good reason. He wasn't just a part of the Legion of Boom. He was its pulse, its enforcer. He crushed Vernon.
We are talking about a guy who crushed Vernon Davis, folded a 6'7", 300-pound tackle like laundry, and even rocked Megatron. At 6'3", 230, Kam was built different. That is 3 inches taller and nearly 30 pounds heavier than legends like Ronnie Lott and Brian Dawkins. He was a giant compared to the most feared safeties in history, and he just wanted to inflict pain. Like his teammate Walter Thurman said, Kam wants to hit anything that is moving. Hands down, Kam Chancellor was the scariest safety we have ever seen. But before he became the enforcer haunting NFL receivers in their sleep, he was just a quiet kid out of Norfolk, Virginia. Believe it or not, back in high school, this lanky kid was playing quarterback. He grew up watching Mike Vick and Vince Young, thinking, that is the blueprint. He said, you know, I tried to dress like them, tried to move like them on the field. He couldn't quite duplicate their moves, but he gave it his all. That experience became his secret weapon, because when you have played quarterback, you see the field through a different lens. You understand how offenses operate, where the cracks in the armor are, and exactly what that pressure feels like in the pocket. Eventually, that quarterback IQ would turn Kam Chancellor into one of the sharpest defensive minds in the entire league. By his senior year, he was turning heads. Over 2,000 passing yards, 500 rushing, a 10-2 record, and a playoff run that put his high school on the map. Rivals ranked him as the 27th best pro-style QB in the nation. Solid, but not headline news. After offers from James Madison and Virginia, Kam made his call. He was going to be a Hokie. I am Kam Chancellor, and I am a Hokie. He didn't know it yet, but that decision changed the course of football history. When Kam arrived at Virginia Tech in 2006, the coaching staff was scratching their heads. They had no idea where to put him. Quarterback? Too raw. Cornerback? He tried it, but at 6'3" and 225, he looked more like a linebacker and struggled to run with the speedsters. Safety? Not quite yet. The Hokies kept moving him around like a mismatched puzzle piece. But every time he stepped on the grass, one thing was undeniable. The kid could hit. By his sophomore year, Bud Foster, the legendary defensive coordinator behind the lunch pail defense, saw the vision. He slotted Kam at the rover position, a hybrid safety linebacker role designed for one thing: controlled violence. That is when Kam the Beast woke up. 79 tackles, 7 breakups, and a pick in just one season. Come 2008, Foster moved him to free safety. Now Kam had the whole field in his sights, and that is when things got scary. Kam said, people said I was too big and slow for safety, but I saw Sean Taylor doing it at 6'4", 230, and he was crushing it. So he went to work. He started diagnosing plays before the snap screens, slants, quarterback tells, baiting them and waiting to strike. And when he finally arrived at the ball, the impact was seismic. We are talking bone-rattling hits. That season, he helped lead the Hokies to an ACC championship and anchored one of the top defenses in the nation. Before his senior year, DB coach Torian Gray said Kam could be the greatest safety in school history. Kam took that challenge personally. He finished his college career as a captain, a leader, and a total punisher for one of the fiercest units in the land. Heading into the NFL draft, the so-called experts pegged him as a third-rounder at best. Scouts were skeptical. He ran a 4.6 940 at the combine, pretty slow for a safety. His vertical was okay, agility was fine, but nothing screamed superstar. It took until the 5th round, pick 133, for Seattle's new head coach Pete Carroll to pull the trigger. Nobody knew it then, but the guy everyone slept on had just landed in the perfect laboratory to become a monster. When Kam got to Seattle, he was buried on the depth chart behind 4-time Pro Bowler Lawyer Milloy. But he didn't pout. He studied. He said, I watch how guys tick. I watch how they move. I watch the psychology. Do they slow down before contact? I look for tendencies. I pay attention to everything. He mastered body language. By year 2, Milloy was gone, and the starting job was wide open. Pete Carroll and defensive coordinator Gus Bradley didn't blink. The job was Kam's. Carroll told him, you are the real deal. You are busting your tail. In the season opener against the 49ers, Kam racked up 10 solo tackles. He was everywhere. 2 weeks later, against Arizona, Kevin Kolb tried to sneak a pass over the middle. Big mistake. Kam read it, broke on it, and snagged his first career interception. The numbers told one story. 97 tackles, 4 picks, 13 breakups, and a Pro Bowl nod. But the game film told the real story. Kam Chancellor was altering the geometry of the field. Receivers were terrified of running slants. Tight ends hesitated up the seam, and quarterbacks started looking for safer options. Inside that locker room, a legend was forming. The Legion of Boom. By 2012, they were ready to take over the world. Richard Sherman was the mouth, talking trash and backing it up. Free safety Earl Thomas was the brain, the instinctive genius patrolling the deep middle. And Kam Chancellor? He was the enforcer. He turned the middle of the field into a no-fly zone for anyone who wanted to stay healthy. He put the boom in Legion of Boom. One game defined it, Week 6 against Tom Brady and the Patriots. Kam posted 11 tackles, and the Seahawks squeezed out a 24-23 win. He dropped another 11 tackles on Detroit later that year and finished the season with a career-high 101 tackles. If you need one clip to explain the legend of Kam Chancellor to an alien, rewind the tape to Week 16, Sunday Night Football, Seattle versus San Francisco. These squads had genuine beef with each other. Late first quarter, Colin Kaepernick floats a pass toward Vernon Davis near the corner of the end zone. Davis leaps up, completely exposed, and on the way down, he gets introduced to 6'3", 230 pounds of pure nightmare fuel. Kam turned his body into a missile, blasted Davis in the chest, and folded the Pro Bowl tight end like a lawn chair. Davis later said, "Man, it was wild. I got up and had no clue where I was." He basically said, "Wow, I just got run over by a semi-truck." And Kam, he just stands over him and says, "Shake it off, bro. You're good. Shake it off." That night, the Seahawks absolutely crushed the Niners, finishing the season 11-5 before a gut-wrenching playoff exit against the Falcons. But the message was sent. The rest of the league was officially put on NFL fax notice. In the offseason, Dan Quinn takes the defensive coordinator job, and Seattle locks Kam up with a 4-year, $28 million bag. And come 2013, they got every penny's worth. Week 7 against Arizona. Andre Ellington takes the handoff, and Eric Winston, a massive 6'7", 300-pound tackle, steps up to block Kam. Bad idea. Kam went through him like a wrecking ball through wet paper, sent Winston stumbling, and then buried the running back for good measure. The Legion of Boom was untouchable. First in takeaways with 39, first in points allowed at just 14.4 per game. They gave up the fewest yards in the league, something nobody had done since the legendary 1985 Bears. They finished 13-3, but the stats don't tell the whole story. It was the fear factor. Receivers running crossing routes were terrified. They were hearing footsteps before the ball even left the quarterback's hand. Kam was living rent-free in their heads. And the scary part? He was just getting warmed up for the playoffs. Divisional round against the Saints? 14 tackles. Then they send the Niners packing in the NFC Championship, 23-17, punching their ticket to Super Bowl XLVIII against Denver. The Broncos were an offensive machine. Peyton Manning had just engineered the highest-scoring offense in history with 606 points. Before the game, Broncos receiver Demaryius Thomas gets asked about Seattle's physical play. He says, "I ain't worried. I like getting hit." Famous last words. 6 days later, opening drive of the Super Bowl, Manning finds Thomas on a crosser, and Kam makes him pay the toll. Thomas admitted later, "First catch, I got leveled. I popped up fast, trying to act cool, but man, that hurt." The Broncos were shook. Seattle smelled blood in the water. They forced 4 turnovers and handed Denver a 43-8 beatdown, one of the most lopsided wins ever. Kam's stat line? 10 tackles, 2 breakups, and an early interception that set the tone for the entire massacre. The guy went from a 5th-round draft pick to a Super Bowl enforcer. From overlooked to untouchable. Kam didn't sleep a wink that night. Neither did the city. They partied till sunrise, celebrating that ring. But they weren't done. In 2014, Kam gets the C on his chest, team captain. Not because he was loud, but because when he moved, the whole team moved with him. But he had no idea he was walking into a season of serious heartbreak. Opener against Green Bay? He reminded everyone what a leader looks like. 11 tackles, shutting down lanes like a one-man wall, setting the vibe for another year of punishment. 2 weeks later, Super Bowl rematch. Kam goes full NFL fax mode on the Broncos again, picks off Manning, forces a fumble, and leaves receivers terrified of the middle. And he's doing all this while battling ankle and hip injuries that would have put a normal human in the hospital. By the playoffs, he was beat up and sore, yet somehow still the most dangerous man in the stadium. That's when he dropped one of the craziest safety performances ever. Divisional round against Carolina. Kam was everywhere, racking up 10 tackles like it was nothing. He literally hurdled the offensive line twice trying to block field goals. Athletic freak. Later, with the Panthers down 24-10, Cam Newton drives deep into Seattle territory. Newton looks left, fires a laser to Ed Dixon, and Chancellor reads it like a Dr. Seuss book. 87 yards later, he's dancing in the end zone, his only career touchdown, and you couldn't write a better script. Seattle rolled past the Panthers, survived a wild overtime against the Packers, and set up a date with Tom Brady in Super Bowl XLIX. Cam was ready for war. He was dishing out punishment, including a shot that absolutely rocked Julian Edelman. Edelman was like, "He hit me, and I didn't know if I was down or up." But here's the kicker. Cam was playing on a torn knee. Dude could barely walk, but refused to sit out the biggest game of his life. Seattle was inches away from back-to-back titles until, well, you know what happened. Even in defeat, one thing was undeniable. Kam Chancellor was the pulse of the Legion of Boom, the heartbeat of the Seahawks. The offseason got messy, though. Cam wanted a new deal. He felt he earned that respect and the paycheck to match. Talks stalled, so he made a promise. He wouldn't return until the money was right or Seattle lost 2 games. Well, Seattle started 0-2. Week 3, Cam is back in the building. As soon as number 31 stepped on the grass, the whole defense took a deep breath. They went 10-4 the rest of the way. In just his second game back, he made a play that screamed NFL Facts legend. Monday Night Football against the Lions. Seattle clinging to a lead. Calvin Johnson Megatron himself catches a pass near the goal line, ready to win it. Stafford throws. Megatron reaches for the end zone. And he fumbles. Cam punched it out at the last second. And when the playoffs hit, Cam added another chapter in that freezing wildcard matchup in Minnesota. Temps were sub-zero, absolutely freezing, when he ripped the rock straight from Adrian Peterson's grip in the 4th. Seattle scoops it, drills the winning kick to scrape by 10-9. But then, ouch. The Panthers handed them a 31-24 loss the very next week. By the time the curtain closed on the year, Cam sat at rank 32 on the NFL Top 100. But honestly, no list, no stat sheet, and no paycheck could ever quantify what this dude meant to the squad. Injuries started creeping in, though. He sat out the start of 2016 nursing a bad groin and ankle, but the moment he returned, it was like the man never missed a beat. And sure, you see 47 tackles, 2 picks, and 8 breakups on paper, but that doesn't even begin to cover the terror he caused on the field. Take that Sunday night clash in Foxborough. You've got Tom Brady, you've got Rob Gronkowski, and the Patriots are marching downfield looking for blood. Gronk lines up solo against Cam near the goal line. Brady lobs it up, and Gronk tries to bully Cam like he does everyone else. But Cam, the guy was a statue, didn't budge an inch. He met him chest to chest, shut him down cold at the goal line, and the ball hit the dirt. Seattle finished 10-5-1, snatching back the NFC West title. Even though Atlanta knocked them out of the playoffs later, Cam's vibe never faltered. He evolved from just being the hammer into something way bigger. He was the anchor, the brain, and the brawn behind one of the sickest defenses in history. That summer, Seattle paid the man, locking him down with a 3-year, $36 million extension. That deal proved Cam was the heartbeat of the defense, but reality check, his body was screaming in agony. Shoulder ops, neck stingers, bruised ribs, years of car crash hits because Kam Chancellor didn't have a play-safe mode. But he had no clue that savage style was about to cost him big in 2017. Week 10 against the Arizona Cardinals. 4th quarter action. He steps up for what looks like a totally routine tackle, nothing special, right? But when he tried to get up, pure panic. Neck locked, arms buzzing, and pain shooting down his spine like a lightning bolt. He tried to walk it off like the warrior he is, but his gut told him this was different. Later, the docs gave him the news no athlete wants to hear. This wasn't just a bump and bruise. One more hit like that, and he might be in a wheelchair for life. Seattle missed the playoffs for the first time in forever, and Cam had to make the call to medically retire. He jumped on Twitter to say it straight. Walking away by choice is one thing, but walking away because you're scared of paralysis? That's a whole different animal. The body he built to destroy opponents finally failed him. The cornerstone of the Legion of Boom was out. Richard Sherman brought the noise. Earl Thomas brought the smarts. But Kam? Kam was the spirit. A 6'3", 230-pound safety, moving like a cornerback and hitting like a freight train. He was the alpha. When he hit the field, the whole atmosphere changed. Receivers flinched before the ball arrived. Tight ends were checking their blind spots mid-run. Even quarterbacks thought twice before testing his side of the field. Because that is the legend of Kam Chancellor, the enforcer, the soul of the boom, the guy who redefined fear. If you dug this story, keep it locked right here on NFL Facts.